As we open these learning labs, we invited 3 Indigenous artists to share a cultural grounding for the day. Today, we are joined by Huichol Garcia from Los Angeles, who will share a grounding that will include how to think about doing a land acknowledgement. Huichol is a cultural organizer that uses Indigenous-based frameworks to center those most impacted and arts-based strategies to raise awareness of issues facing underserved community, youth, and other targeted populations. He's worked with Indigenous communities across borders in support of issues of land access and self-determination, and his work explores healing and reconciliation, as well as memory and place. He's a former fellow of Monument Lab and the Intercultural Leadership Institute, as well as an artist in residence at Oxy Arts and AIR, the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator. I'm really, really happy today to introduce Huichol. Please join Huichol in this cultural grounding. Thank you.
Good day, everybody. Well, thank you for that land acknowledgement. It just made me think about a lot of different things. Normally, I would be saying hello from the unceded territories of the Tongva community. More specifically, I live near the village site of Apachianga, which is, which at the moment and temporarily we know as East Los Angeles. That's where I was born and raised. That's my homeland. But today, for the first time in a long time, I'm back in my dad's ancestral land here in Jalisco, in Puerto Vallarta. And I wish I knew the ancestral name of this specific place, and so it's unclear to me, so I'll stick with Puerto Vallarta. And yeah, my mind is racing after the land acknowledgement. What I want to share is kind of a personal reflection of mine that I use. That this tool has been super helpful in navigating my work in Los Angeles, where I locate myself as an uninvited guest in the homelands of the Tongva community. I move about that place, understanding that there's a level of work I have to do internally to understand, and sometimes not even understand, I think this is also key, to accept the perspectives of Native peoples from your specific areas as to how they approach the arts, climate issues, the idea of justice, racial justice for Native folks. Like, Native folks are the only cultural group that also has to deal with like the ideas of like, well, not the ideas, but like being a sovereign nation negotiating with the US state. They also have to deal with the issues of class that happen within Native communities. So for us, talking about racial justice doesn't just encompass how we're racialized, but all these different layers. So for me, understanding that, those different perspectives, those different frameworks, and then doing the work that I do with relation to memory and place, with relation to indigeneity, I have to be very, very specific in how I identify myself and how I speak about the work. So this exercise has been really helpful to be able to do some of that, because as an individual, I don't understand, can never understand, and can never carry the knowledge of a tribal community. That's just impossible, because even within the tribe, there's so many different folks that carry so many different roles for different purposes. So I do my best to surround myself with folks from that community that can inform how I move and walk in Los Angeles. And if you can share the first slide, please. This exercise, you should be able to download it. I think they're gonna drop the PDF link in the chat. And let's go back one, please. So there's a blank page for you all to work off of with some simple instructions. You place yourself in the middle, and these like, kind of rings growing out are folks from the Indigenous community, but I want to be very clear that there's a difference between the Indigenous community of a place and the Indigenous peoples of a place, or the first peoples of a place. Settler colonialism always tricks us into thinking that if we bring in an Indigenous person from anywhere into our project, our community, that person is going to inform us of what is best for this specific location. And it happens here, well, not here, but it happens in Los Angeles a lot, where tribes who are not federally recognized have a hard time advocating at the city, county, and state level. And so it's easy for folks to latch on to somebody from a federally recognized tribe or a well-known tribe and bring that person in as they're checking off the box, they have a native person involved. And two, that's unfair to that person to have to carry the perspective of all indigenous peoples in an area. So this kind of gives you an idea of how to map it out. I have to give credit for this chart, this pod mapping exercise to the Bay Area Transformative Justice Coalition. I've done similar work, but I think this is very, very clear and direct. So I use this. So enough of this, I want to give them props. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is just a small sampling of my community in Los Angeles. So I place myself in the middle. I've done the work to learn, right? Like learn who the first peoples of my place are. And not do it through the, going to the library and looking at stuff and rereading or like looking for online articles, but really doing the work to identify these folks. Sometimes it feels, I don't know, it feels very complicated to be asked to do land acknowledgements in Los Angeles and say like, well, I'm not the person that you need to do, like that needs to do this. Maybe, and this has been evolving year after year. So what I'm saying today might not be applicable next year. I want you to remember that. Years ago, it would be very common practice for somebody like me, an indigenous person, not one from Los Angeles, to do a land acknowledgement. Then it moved into, well, we really need to have the Pangolo community come in and do a land acknowledgement. But it was also weird for them to acknowledge that they're on their land. So we like really quickly stopped that practice. And then encourage folks who are asking us to do these land acknowledgements to really think about what it is that they wanted to say and make it very personable. Institutions have their land acknowledgement pieces that should come in partnership with the tribal communities there. But I feel that if whoever's hosting an event is doing that piece from their own perspective, it's going to resonate a lot more. But in order to get to that place, you got to know who you're talking about. You got to know who you're connected to. So I mapped this out really quick. I know that in my circle, whenever I need to check in about something, work that's being done in regards to public space or the memorialization of different events and peoples, that these are the folks I can count on. There's Tongva elders I'm connected to. There's Tataviam elders that I'm connected to. There's artists as well. Youth. It's important to also have youth involved. From Los Angeles, there's 3 large communities that are the first peoples of that place. That are currently known as the Chumash, Tataviam, Tongva. And there's others, but those are the ones that I'm closest to. And so these are the first peoples of that place that I consider like, this is my crew. Like this, I can rely on them. I've built the trust, I've built a relationship with them that they know if I'm gonna call and ask for something, that it isn't in an extractive form, that they know that I'm in relationship with them. And that's really, really important. That that you're consistently trying to build relationships with people, especially first peoples of the community that you're in. The outer ring are other indigenous folks who live in Los Angeles, who are in alignment with this work. Professors at universities, elders from other tribal communities, youth from other tribal communities, service providers from other tribes, cultural bearers, and these folks inform my work. Because even though sometimes you're connected to the first peoples of a place, does not mean that they have the capacity, nor should they be tasked with like our questions or need to know certain things. And so you need some other folks to support you. The outer ring, the larger bubbles, are organizations, networks, institutions that are also, that I feel these here have been in alignment with this work, and it's gonna fluctuate, and you see a lot of empty pieces. And this for me has taken years and years and years to like build up. Like I can feel this chart easily. And I say that because it's a beautiful thing to be able to like have gotten to this place. So I encourage everybody to really think about this, reflect on this. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. This is one tool in which you can clearly see like the work you have to do. This work that is creative placemaking, creative placekeeping is super, super important. And I understand there's tensions around like how far you can get with this work. But it is a great tool that if you do this right, then the work that you do within, the projects you're proposing just really resonate beyond, like they transcend beyond that specific project. I'm really about open sourcing these projects and co-designing alongside communities so that you leave a template for them to be able to replicate this in larger ways, smaller ways. And then when you have a community that is shaped in the way that this chart reflects or this map reflects, you also have, it makes the work so much easier. It makes everything more efficient. It makes everything more fluid. And we know that, doing work in a very hierarchical way, in a way that is very structured under this white lens of how we implement arts and culture is very taxing and very dehumanizing. And this feels good. This has felt really good for me to do this, to be able to at times be an instigator of projects and walk away and see them like carry it on. So I encourage everybody to take this, think about it. This will take years to build up, but at least you have something to like work towards. More learning to do. Learning is healing. This work is healing work. Art healing is healing work. It's been so important for us in the work that we've done that now at the moment, like we're in a critical moment where we can get cities, counties, state entities to apologize for the harm that has been caused by the development of our towns and cities. So this is one simple tool in order to get you on your path to build community. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Like this will show you how to build community within, different tribal communities. So with that, I'll leave you. Thank you so much. Honored to be here. Honored to share space with you all. And I'll turn it back over to Jen.